to everyone on this panel. My name is Ruki Ladoja. I'm the creative director for now defunct fashion label Grey. I also am the chief strategist at Grey Projects, an advisory firm that helps within the creative industry, especially within fashion, to help to develop links in the value chain that are currently missing within Nigeria. Today, we will be talking about how to find a balance between creativity and sustainability. And joining me today are three amazing panelists. We have Femi Olayebi, Creative Director for Femi Handbags, and of course, the founder for Lagos Leather Fair. We have Lanre Da-Silva Ajayi, who is the creative director for her eponymous line, Lanre Da-Silva Ajayi, who is one of the foremost high fashion designers in Nigeria. And we have Gilles. Sorry, Gilles, I don't want to mispronounce your Acogny, who is the founder of Acogny, and which is an advisory and consulting. Advisory firm that specializes in helping brands to improve their creativity and sales. And so without further ado, I want everyone to take 2 minutes to introduce yourselves to us so we know who we're talking to. So we'll start with you, Femi.
Hi, everyone. And again, I must say, because I am the convener of this event, let me just say thank you so much for honoring my invitation or our invitation. And thank you for coming on board and making this such a rich experience. And I'm looking forward to the next hour. So my name is Femi Olayebi, and I own and run a company called My World of Bags, which is actually the parent company of Femi Handbags. I've been so I am the creative brain behind that bag, the bag brand, which is a bespoke, quite luxury brand. And we've been operating as a company for the past 28 years. I'm also the founder of the Lagos Leather Fair, a platform that I found in 2017 because I felt that we needed to fill a gap in the industry and begin to change the narrative within that space. And yeah, that's really all there is to me. Very recently, I had the amazing honor of partnering with the MasterCard Foundation to work on resilience projects. So that's me.
And what did you do for MasterCard Foundation?
What are we doing for MasterCard Foundation? Well, we are in the process of producing thousands and thousands of protective equipment, non-medical grade.
Okay, yeah. Cool, amazing. Okay, I'll come and ask you a few questions about that. So, Lanre, can you please introduce yourself to us and tell us about your amazing brand?
Okay, so my name is Lanre Da-Silva Ajayi. I'm the co-founder of the brand self-named Lanre Da-Silva Ajayi. I'm a fashion designer. I've been in business for about 15 years now. So it's been a while and it's been a beautiful journey so far. As we know, Nigerians are fashionistas. I'm a luxury brand, and I think that's part of the uniqueness and that has kept me relevant up to date because Nigerians love fashion, we like new things. So my brand tends to follow trends. And yeah, we are here today and we're still moving. So I'm thankful and grateful to God. That's me.
And Gilles, please tell us a little bit about yourself and Acogny.
Thank you, Ruki. Please allow me to thank first and foremost Femi Olayebi and the Lagos Leather Fair for inviting me. So I am an African, just an African boy, as I was saying before. I am fortunate to be a mix of Senegal and Benin and have a little bit of Nigerian in me, and I love your country. I run an advisory firm, consulting and advisory and training firm based in London with my partner, my co-founder, Nadia Mensah Acogny, an amazing woman. And what we do is we help organizations grow commercially, set their leadership strategy and execute it. And then we also help them with a very special training type, which is linked to neuroscience and psychology. And we love creative. I have lots of creative in my family. My sister, who is I will say it this way because that's what the press says, a mega star in dancing worldwide, and my brother who produces music for films. I play the guitar also.
Oh, nice. Amazing. Wow. Thank you guys so much for being here. Yes, so I don't even know where to start. So I think the first question I wanted to ask, I guess, with all your experience, and I'll go from one to, is Femi, first of all, you've been in business for 28 years and you've been able to sustain your brand. You've grown so much. I've been following your brand for quite a few years now, and the strength that you're growing at is so amazing. And one of the things I wanted to ask is, if you had to summarize, and that I imagine this would be really difficult, what would be the 3 things that you would say that helped you to sustain your business over the last 28 years?
That's an exam question, but yeah, I think that easily what comes to my head, first and foremost, is the passion that I had.
Okay.
So yes, I started 28 years ago, and I started at a time when there wasn't even Google, Google was 3 years old. So I had to find my way myself. And in doing that, I was an absolute novice, but I knew that there was something that kept me going, and that's the passion. So it's the passion, the perseverance. I don't know where I got that from, but I have a strong persevering streak. And in spite of the naysayers, in spite of the stumbling blocks, in spite of the roadblocks and all that, and we all know what I'm talking about, I just kept going because I believed that there was something there, and I had a growth mindset. So there was definitely that. And last thing would be, I said passion, I said perseverance. I don't want to use the word luck, but I think also it's consistency. I think that also, and I would add a 4th one, and I add a 4th one because Gilles also always used it for me. It was authenticity, So I was very consistent, and I just kept doing the same thing over and over and over again and trying to improve on what I was doing. And then one day he said to me, I think the reason you've come this far is because you're so authentic. And so I'm adding that as a fourth reason why I'm still standing.
No, I mean, that's, of course, those are like key amazing points, because of course, no matter what you're doing, if you not continue to do it at the same level, the same quality, then people cannot become more and more attracted to the brand. And so if you're able to always deliver, that's one of the most important things for a creative brand, especially. And of course, you have to be passionate about what you're creating, because you have to love it, because there will be those days when you don't even want to go. Maybe there's some roadblocks that you're trying to battle with. And if you don't love that thing that you're doing, how will you be able to get up and do it? So yes, those are 4 amazing points. Thank you for adding the extra one. And then Lanre, what would you say? You've been doing this for 15 years. Lanre, I was looking at some of your pictures yesterday preparing for this, and I was thinking to myself, wow, you had all those beautiful lace couture pieces. I was like, man, like Lanre has been doing this so consistently for so long, and every year we always seem to get this new beautiful pieces from you. How have you been able to manage it as a high fashion brand?
Thank you, Ricky. So I would say that creativity is very key in the fashion industry. Very key. And I think it's part of the soul, mind, center of a fashion designer. And, keeping up with the trends. And again, you have to identify with your niche brand. I've identified with certain fabrics, like you just mentioned, and I've consistently tried to innovate and create new ideas around them. Now, in terms of sustainability in the fashion industry for about 15 years now, I would say having that customer-centric is very important. Now, when I say customer-centric, I'm talking about anticipating my customers' needs. And one thing that people know me for is that I'm easily accessible. Ricky, I'm sure you agree with me. Sure. I pick up my calls. I see my customers almost like my friends. I'm very particular about what they need. Customer feedback is very important for me. All of those have kept me in business till now and over the years, and having to really listen, because every customer is different. So you have to really get into their mindset of what they really want, and coloring, fabrication, all of that has really, really assisted me. And again, that providing that proactive customer service is very key. You have to be, once they say something, you want to make sure that you give it the feedback, the idea almost immediately. A bride is different from someone attending an afternoon event or someone just going for a cocktail or a dinner event. And as we know, we rode the red carpet in Nigeria. There's so many events that come up. Even in the COVID year, this year has been very special. We thank we're alive today. One thing I would say about this year is that it's taught all of us a lot of lessons. I mean, earlier this year, I had the opportunity, and it was nice. I was pleased to have invited by the Minister of Information and Culture on having to put together a committee, and I was the one heading the fashion aspect of it. And we had a survey, and I could tell that a lot of people had a lot of, some design, some young brands not even be sustained till now. Some of them had paid their rents, and we have a lot of, there are lots of infrastructural problems back in Nigeria, but we try to pull through and stay in line. But one thing I would say is that coping with the trends has also really been there as a sustainability idea for me, because Nigerians love trends and they want something new. It's only in Nigeria where you know that you've just done a collection and someone comes to you, so not anything new. And I'm thinking, are you really serious? New. Let me just get rid of Let me this ideas come. Yeah. It takes a while for you to put it together. So, but I love that. I love that Nigerians love something new every time. So I think having that need to be accessible is key. Yeah. Feedbacks, making sure that you care for the clients, telling them how to keep their clothes for a long time, advising them. And I don't know if I've moved into sustainability angle, but I was very, very keen on talking about something I really came up with this year that's been very good for me, and that's upcycling. I was also engaged in upcycling this year, which has been very good with a lot of my key luxury clients. And what I did was this, over the years, they've bought so much from me, and sustainability is very key when you talk about fashion. And being a luxury brand, because I don't do mass products, quality of fabric is key for me. So the kind of fabrics I use and the monies that people pay, you have to be able to upcycle properly so they can reuse this outfit. So upcycling for me was a very, very key innovation that I have adopted this year, and it's worked very well. And I've been able to mix with other fabrics to make it reusable and wearable. So when they wear it again, it's actually very new and fresh. Right. And you don't feel, and at a very, very small amount, it's not a lot you pay. And I think for me, that's a very key way to sustain luxury fashion.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that later. Thank you because
I've been seeing that too.
About that and how that is going for you. Yes. But what you mentioned about accessibility is so important, especially for a luxury brand that one might feel that it should be not accessible to the masses. For you to have that is something that really helped you stand out in the industry. So yes, thank you for that. And Gilles,
so a couple of
from
words.
all the brands you've worked with, or your experience, knowing your experience of Nigeria, well, I know you've worked a bit with Femi as well. What would you say are the things that you've observed as 3 key things that must help, especially the smaller brands, the brands that are just starting, 3 key things that they need to know and they need to remember as they continue to grow?
So I believe in data, and just let me start with this. If you look at the data from the World Economic Forum, in 2015, creativity was in the top 10, creativity was number 10. In 2020, creativity is number 3.
Wow.
Number 3, right? So I have 3 things, 3 H's. Just remember the 3 H's, right?
What?
So the first 3 H, yeah, 3 H's. So the first H, if you want to be able to go far, come with the village, come with the group, work together. And I want to insist on this. We need to hold our hands, thank people like Femi who is doing the Lagos Leather Fair and has really generosity to work with everybody. Stop thinking that you are superwoman, superman, etc. You have superpowers. But the Marvels, they come together as super teams and they're stronger and they change the world. And I'll have examples later on about it. Other countries do that too. So the first H is head, meaning you have to have strategy. You have to have an individual strategy and you have to have collective strategy. You have to believe, and the Nigerians have an incredible level of resilience and belief. You have to believe in yourself, but you have to also believe in your fellow brother and sister. And we need to break that pattern of thinking that we don't trust the others. Unless we work together, we will not go nowhere fast. We will go nowhere in the long run. We will be behind and stay behind, and nobody wants that. So the first one is head. You have to have a strategy, but that strategy has to have collective intelligence. As my brother from Senegal living in Morocco, Alioune Gueye, would say, collective intelligence, work together. The second H is you have to have heart, because Femi mentioned it, Lanre mentioned it, you mentioned it, Ruki. The passion is really important, but you have to have the heart in the right place. So you have to be generous, you have to give and take. You have to have equilibrium between what you give and what you take. Don't be in the business to just take things. Be in the business to share things. And the third one is you have to be hugely pragmatic. So the third H is hand, because you have to take action. Stop talking to yourself, talk with other people and take action. Let me come back to the first one, the H. The mindset has to be different. You have to have the right thoughts, because if you have the wrong thoughts, right now, a lot of people have fears, you will be paralyzed. You have to have positive thinking the moment you wake up. What are you gonna do that's gonna change the world? Because creatives change the world. So head, heart, and hand.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. That's it's so concise, Jill. That was amazing.
Wow.
I wanted to mention on one of the things you said, because actually that's one of the big issues that we have in the Nigerian industry. I can't speak for globally, but I imagine it's globally, especially within the creative space, is what you said about going it alone or going together is one of those key things that perhaps it's a mix of the fact that we are all trying to solve all our problems ourselves. You know, the infrastructural issues that we have within the industry are quite significant. You know, we have to provide our own electricity, we have to find our own tailors, find our own fabric all by ourselves. And so there's a mix of perhaps because we're doing too much, like you said, the head part, and also a mix of guarding your creativity and all that work that all that passion that you've put, we tend to go at it alone. In a practical way, I've always wondered, what are better practical ways that people can do it together without it being something that becomes a point of conflict? For example, if I want to partner with someone because we both have the same first issues, what kind of things do we put in place to ensure that it doesn't become something that becomes tiresome or controversial for both of us and leads to conflict? Because otherwise then it's no point. And those are the examples. I don't know about the rest of you. I hear more of those examples than examples of people who have collaborated and it has worked out. I hear more of the examples of, oh, they tried to work, but this didn't happen because of this. What are practical ways that you can suggest?
Are you speaking to me? Okay, first and foremost, we have to get out of our mental slavery. We've been in it since forever. 1885 is when in Berlin, the Western world has actually defined that they will put a clamp on Africans and stay with us, and they're still in our heads. So we think this way. We think we have brilliant people. You Nigerians have brilliant people. There was the NBA draft a couple of days ago. There were 6 Nigerian origin boys who are now professionals playing the NBA. So you have brilliancy in every part of the industry, every part of what we do in the world. So the first thing is we have to change our mentality, because it's not because somebody has stolen from you that you shouldn't try again. You should try your whole life. There is no one size fits all here. It's trial and error. You will find a lot of people who are stealing. You have to be authentic. You have to be straightforward and say, look, I'm here to win with you. If you think that I'm taking from you, tell me, be straight with me, work with me. We have to change the way we approach this. Yes, I have been cheated on lots of times, and I will tell you, more in Africa than in America, more in Africa than in the UK, more in Africa than in France, okay? It's my brothers, but I'm still there, and I'm gonna still continue to come. And we have to, one person at a time, change our mentality so that things change. Today, I work with quite a few Africans who are fantastic. I would give them my children, I will give them a key to my house, because I know that they are trustworthy, and they have been cheated on too. So it is trial and error, but we have to do it despite those who are not doing it. We have to pull the whole system up instead of letting the whole system pull us down. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, thank you. That definitely answers. It's just you have to keep, because there are more success stories from trying it, even when sometimes it fails, and so we need to try that. And even for all our own personal levels of creativity and passion, you find that collaboration often brings out. You learn more, you learn new skills, and you're able to do more in a shorter period of time. So yes, I definitely agree. Lanre, on collaboration, have you? I was just wondering, have you had any collaboration experiences that you feel are good examples that you think this I should also know, or what are your own opinions on collaborating within the fashion industry for sustainability?
So I will say one thing definitely. As a fashion designer and someone that has worked the runways across the globe, I would say collaborations are very key. When you think collaboration, you think market penetration. And when you think market penetration, you have to think of how you compete with the competitors all over the world, you know. And if I want to get into the American market, for instance, I want to look at the designer that is already known there, that has got a kind of, you know, a market base already. And if I collaborate with her, I definitely would look at how what I'm bringing from Nigeria is going to benefit her, and she would know I also should get benefits from me. Now, when you think of those kind of aspects, I think collaboration is excellent because there's a strategic alliance, and it makes purchasing easier. She has a distribution network. I would try and change product designs to fit America, for instance. It could be Ghana, it could be Sierra Leone, it could be Gambia, it could be anywhere. So when you talk collaboration, there are different aspects of it. Collaboration within Nigeria could be, I want to use Ruki as my manufacturer. She's a manufacturer. I collaborate with her for it to be easier for me to sell maybe my mass production within Nigeria. That's another form of collaboration. So it depends on what I'm looking at. I've had so many people within this COVID year has been a year by which I feel collaboration, young designers have come to meet me. When you think of what has happened, for instance, that's my own personal example. When you think of stuff that happened with H&M and probably like Victor and Rolf, that was an excellent case study. They did so well. Victor and Rolf on their own. I remember when I did with Dolce & Gabbana in Milan, when I spoke to the guy, they would tell you that they sell perfumes, bags, so many that is household, there's all of that. But at the same time, what the collaboration I had with them then was to sell within that space. And I did really well because it opened me up to a different market. So that is a collaboration that I did personally, and it was very worth my while. It's one of my key lines of success within experiencing the business, and it opened me to new people, new ideas. I spoke to some of the clients that have won my PCs, and they told me how they loved how soft the fabrics were, how it fitted the weather in Milan and all that. So collaboration for me is definitely a key strategic alliance that I feel all of us should look into, despite even if apart from fashion designing, because it opens you up to new market base. You're more competitive. You want to know what is happening in another country, not just within your own comfort zone. Because already I would say that I'm doing very well in my country. I'm grateful for that. But again, you take it to the next level. So, and like I said earlier on, it's an alternate way to also have that deep sense of market penetration and see how much you can see yourself to the rest of the world, be it in Ghana, for instance. I'm looking to do something in Ghana very soon, and I'm looking forward to it. That for me, areas by which you begin to distribute what you have So it's a way by which you have a different distribution channel. And because if you stay within Nigeria alone, then you are not just a local designer. It gives you that opportunity to open up yourself and see how much far you've gone. And you have to go to criticism. You know, people are going to tell you, oh, we think this will do well for us. Some people would have something to say. Over the years, I've been very lucky. I would say that my brand has done very well. I've got very, very good feedbacks. It's high fashion, so it's not for everyone. You know, you have to have, Nigerians have the confidence anyway. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think over the years, we've also built more confidence in fashion in Nigeria. So all of that, I think, is definitely building a big business and a global ecosystem. And by so doing, you give a service. And, you know, I mentioned the centric approach earlier on. It's very key, you know, because it could be global centricity, it could be strategic centricity, it could be customer centricity, but all of that also gives you that awareness for you to apply yourself in what you do. The creative aspect goes in line with sustainability.
Amazing.
So thank you.
Seriously, I've always wondered, because of course I always wondered even about when you were at Dolce and Gabbana speaker, how did that happen? How did that go? So for you to talk about it now, it's just knowing that it was a collaboration just continues to motivate, and I hope it motivates whoever is listening, that is such an integral part of when you're trying to sustain your business, especially within the creative spaces. And Femi, do you have anything you want to add on collaboration? If you have any experiences, any examples that you feel have been success stories that have helped to sustain your brand over the years?
Okay, so collaborations are very, very new in my space, because of course we all operate in a space where everybody seems to be in a bubble, you know, and it was experience that really taught me that could not work. That yes, you can be as creative as possible, but there needs to be some kind of connection between creatives, and that you really cannot stand on your own. And I think that was one of the main reasons why I came up with the idea of the fair, because the challenges were the same. We all had the same pain points. And what struck me the most was the fact that I had been in this business for 28 years. I started using leather in 2010. And so basically, technically, I've been using leather for 10 years. I'm working with leather for 10 years. And the challenges just were not ending. You know, they were just always there. And I would look around me and find that leather designers, whether they started 10 years ago or whether they started 5 years ago or 2 months ago, seem to have the exact same challenges. So it was just a matter of asking myself a lot of questions. How do I use the skills that I have to empower others? How do I use my skills to make an impact? For example, I think I heard someone say, I think there's something I heard once about success being, you don't just want to be successful, you want to be significant. And I thought about it a lot, and I tried to delve into the real meaning of that. And I realized that no man is an island. So if we come together as a force, we'll be able to move mountains. And during our webinar yesterday, one of the panelists said something that was very important. He said, it is time for us leather designers, that the most visible part of the leather industry is actually the leather designers. And I'd actually never thought of it like that. You know, nobody's thinking of the tanneries, nobody's thinking of the suppliers in Mushi market, nobody's thinking of those who are supplying accessories and hardware. It is, who do they see? They see our products and they see the designers behind the product. So there's no better time than now to come together and be able to make an impact. And the only way we can do that is if we really do come together, and we don't keep talking about it, we actually do something about it and form an ecosystem that can make us stronger, so that when we stand up as a whole, as a group, and start talking about policy and advocacy and all that, the government will listen, you know. Those who need to listen will listen. You know, so that's really what it is for me, and it's been amazing. Just doing this has opened quite a few doors, interesting doors for me, and I can only be thankful.
Thank you. I was just thinking as you were talking about all you coming together, that one of the things that always strike me when I meet younger designers or younger creatives is we always feel like we're the only ones going through the problems that we are going through. So if whatever it is, you think I'm the only one that has this issue, nobody else has these issues. And so even just for this conversation, I wanted to ask you if you could just list out 3 of those problems that you are constantly facing so that anyone who is listening can understand that I am not alone. Because that's often, for example, when I talk about electricity, I always think it's only my burden. No other designer is going through it. Or if I talk about money, I think it's just me. So I just wanted to ask you if you list out 3 of those problems so that other people listening will know and hear that collaboration and coming together is very important because everybody has those issues.
Okay, yes, I'm about to make you laugh, but really, problems 1, 2, and 3 are a lack of skill sets. I think that's really the biggest problem that everybody has, the greatest challenge. And a lot of people look at me, okay, yeah, Femi Handbags has been able to succeed and has become a recognizable brand, I humbly say so. But I find that younger designers also have the same problems as myself, or I have the same problems as the younger designers. So there I am, and they have this impression about me. They think, oh yeah, she has this entire factory full of hundreds and hundreds of craftsmen, but it really doesn't work like that, because the craftsmen, those who have the skills, because the way you work with leather is totally different from the way you would work with garments, as Larry would tell, so it's a totally different ball game. But you find that those skill sets are totally are lacking, and we are finding it very, very difficult to find artisans who have the right skills to work with the leather. And so one of the things that has happened in the past few years, and it's become strengthened now, is the fact that a lot of designers are reaching out to me now and saying, okay, Mrs. O, can you please produce for us? Because they've tried it, they've gone to the art market in Lekki, for example. They've tried to have their designs produced, but they keep running into problems because, of course, the quality is not there. And so they know that the only way that they can scale, the only way they can also begin to grow is excellently made products. So we have had a few collaborations in that space, So now we have, and it's something that we're going to formalize hopefully by next year, because like I keep saying, there's no reason why we cannot have a manufacturing hub where we can service bigger clients, where we can service clients from Europe, wherever, because they're all looking for cheaper labor, and there is cheaper labor out here. So yes, that's one of the biggest challenges. Everybody has the challenge of power. I mean, that's nothing new at all. And then the other thing I would say is a lack of good quality accessories and hardware. So for myself, because I am a bespoke brand, and I'm very, very big on quality, I have not ever seen the kind of hardware that I would like to use, because hardware is everything. You walk, you attend a trade show, and people gravitate into my booth, and they actually tell me, you know what it is about your bags? It's the hardware, it's the accessories you've used, and it made me realize that you cannot play with that. So you decide where you want to position yourself in the market. It's okay if you want to use hardware from Mushi, but I think that if you want to grow, if you want to also begin to look at an international market, it's important to start investigating companies where you can find really good quality hardware. So that's it. A lack of the lack of skill sets and skilled hands, and hardware and accessories. Really good hardware and accessories.
Okay. So yes, just for anyone who is listening in, everyone has problems and no one is alone. So collaboration is really that much more important in being sustainable. Now, Femi has sort of touched on it, but Gilles, I wanted to talk to you a bit about skill sets and training, because I know that that's one of the services that you offer within your company. And so can you tell us how, I guess, like for us within the Nigerian space, one, we don't have, it's not that we don't have, but it's tricky for us to commit to training because of course, you know, maybe we have limited resources, and also how to even train in a way that means that the person that is being trained fully understands it, but also is still committed to staying and working versus saying, oh, I want to go and set up my own, or I now know it all, so I'm going to set up, because we're very entrepreneurial here. So that's always, it's always like a stepping stone to something. How do you design that kind of training to establish the kind of skill set that we might need?
Okay, I'll respond to your question directly, but I would like to speak also very briefly about harnessing different forms of capital, because Femi just spoke about human capital, which is significantly important. I'll finish on this so I can touch on the training.
Okay.
I'll go very quickly. Financial capital first is something that all entrepreneurs are looking for, unless it is your next question.
Yes, it was. It was. I wanted to talk about money next. I wanted to talk about.
Let me talk about training, and we'll come back to it. But I will touch on one of the three capitals I wanted to talk about here. It's intellectual capital. You ladies have an incredible possibility to change the world by doing what the Indians have done in the pharmaceutical industry. They have leveraged their intellectual capital to gain leadership in producing generical pharmaceutical. You are in the leather industry, and Femi and Lanre, you are in the garment and the fashion industry. You're both in the fashion industry. The point I want to make here is you have to take leadership, African leadership, harness it, help people be trained to get the skills to be the best in the world. So you have, I'm not a specialist, but you have the shibori, I think it is, called a dyeing technique, that is Japanese technique. You have the batik from that you find in Indonesia. I wanted to wear a jacket that I've had since 1997. It's still impeccable. I bought it in Indonesia. You have ways of dyeing leather in the northern part of Nigeria and across Africa. There are different ways of dyeing leather. Again, I'm not the specialist, but if you could get leadership, intellectual property and leadership in those things worldwide, you would make a difference that goes in the line of what Femi was speaking about, which is excellence. Now to training. Training is something that we have to teach at the inception to our girls and to our boys at home. It is the role of every single parent to really focus on that, but not just training their children, but training themselves. Today, as Femi said, Google was 3 years old when she started. We have Google. We have phones, you know, in Africa, we all have phones. Let's take a bit of money, go on the internet and look at things that will generate knowledge. Learning is critical. Learning about innovation, learning about management skills, leadership skills, learning about doing things is really important. And if you want to do so today as an entrepreneur, as a member of a company, you can do so. We should forget thinking of the Dangote of this world, etc., thinking they have succeeded. Success for them means failing every day and learning something from it. Success means learning, taking a book and learning every day. So it is the individual responsibility to do this. Pragmatically, you have to go onto the internet, you have to buy books, electronic books, you have to buy, reading books. You have to just look at other people. If you don't have the means to do that, look at other people, go and knock at the door and say, Lanre, can I work for you for free for 3 months? And you'll learn something. Now for the employer, if they have a training program that is benchmark, meaning it doesn't have to be much. There are lots of platforms today. Some of the large companies, the UN has actually bought into Mind Valley. And they're training a whole department into Mind Valley. You go into Mind Valley, if you have the means, you invest into Mind Valley and you get your people to learn something online. And they will learn, they will feed their minds and hearts, and they will be better employees and better resources. But you also can tie this up, if you are doing something over 3 years, you tie it up with the person being forced to stay with you. Otherwise, they owe you 10% of their salaries. That's a very simple way of getting them tied up. You say that you invest in their development, but they invest in the company and in the long run. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, you have. Thank you very much. And Lanre and Femi, do you have any do you have any training, like just as Gilles was just saying, do you have any in-house training program, or is there any sort of training I guess companies that you've partnered with for how you source the people that work for you?
Okay, so in the fashion industry, I love everything that Jill had said earlier on. Definitely, I definitely agree with that. And also at the same time, as a fashion designer, I'm also very busy. So when I'm told to train, I always have to find a time and space by which I can do that. I've mentored a couple of younger designers over time. I think for me, it's more of having to tell them about my own personal experience and having them being able to be patient. You see, with fashion, pattern making is very, very key.
Yeah.
I will talk about pattern making very quickly because again, it's linked to sustainability. You see, when you have when you use the kind of fabrics I use, your patterns are key. That way you reduce the waste products. Waste is the pieces. And when you do have pieces from the kind of garments I do produce, my chantillies and all that, I tend to use them eventually. So that way it's a kind of, it's been reusable and all. So I tend to add as possible. So whoever is listening right now and is a fashion designer, pattern making is very key. It also helps for you, it's sustainable. It keeps you in mind that you should not throw too much waste because we designers are known to waste a lot depending on what you're doing, like Auntie Femi, for instance, where I imagine as she cuts through the leather, she'll have some pieces there. So those pieces could be used for maybe phone covers or something. That way you just encourage people to know that you don't throw stuff away, you try and keep. So for my own training personally, I do 2 or 3 people, depending on so many people come up to me, or fashion institute, fashion training, but I don't have that 100% time for it. But as much as possible, I give my own quota as much as I can to those I do. And when I give talks like this, it's also a way to share my own experiences. Yeah. So that way I'm literally telling you what it's gone through, what I've been able to keep up with in Nigeria. And it's definitely an advice for me that as they go alongside, training your tailors, you should have an idea what you're doing. If you do not, I think you should definitely have a background. Rookie, you're a designer yourself, you've been in this for a long time, you understand exactly what I'm saying in terms of having to adapt yourself to your work. So training for me is not something I would say I do and I give it the whole time. If you have the passion for the fashion industry and I give you a 2-hour conversation, yeah, you have a good idea of how you can adapt it to your own business and how you can take some of the personal experiences and advices I have. So that's the way I tend to train through my own personal life experiences in my business, growing my brand. And I think some of the things I just said now will help anyone listening in, because at the end of the day, it's all about having to use our personal life experiences and having to help other brands not make the same mistakes. And, don't throw, in the beginning, I threw my pieces away, most definitely. Over the years now, I do not do that anymore, and I think that is also keeping fashion sustainable. Also, other ways by which I feel over the years, designers and training is for you to identify with your niche market. This is now sort of telling them, if you are designer now and what you do is women's wear, and you're good at it, you do women's wear. Even women's wear, you do for children, don't go into everything. And that's why the fashion industry is, we've got little goods like Auntie Femi, we've got accessory designers that do their pedestrian, we've got garment people like textile. When you think of textile, I remember I spoke with them, Auntie Nikki Ogolesi. So those are different aspects of the fashion industry. So your training has to be like identifying your niche and knowing where you actually have that passion, what your passion is for in the industry. I am more luxury women's fashion wear. So I stay with that. People tell me, oh, Lanre, are you going to do menswear? I think with all the stress, with all the infrastructural issues, power, access to markets, all these issues they're talking about, and we have got our import duties issues. When you speak to people, we're going to come to funding later. Funding is a key issue that would speak about, but high import duties for us, having to go to, we don't have the raw materials in Nigeria, in terms of, I'm not talking about money now, in terms of interest rates, how much the dollar is to the pound and all of that. All of those are major issues and all. So when trade, you tell them all of this, assets of your business values, ethics, social responsibility. There's so much that goes into it that you can do when you actually give talks like this, they listen in, and then if there's a proper training institute, we're hoping one will be, because as a fashion designer and being a training institute is difficult. So I've spoken to government a couple of times. We need a proper training institute where people like Rookie, myself, Gilles, Auntie Femi can come in and actually have sessions and we did train people and people would sort of, register for the ones they want to. I think that's something we're in dire need of in Nigeria.
Yeah, no, absolutely, you're right.
I've heard of some institutions, but I've not heard of a proper one where I'll get my degree or be awarded or something like that.
Oh yes, of course, like a certificate to show to you.
Yeah, so they'll say, I went to this school and this is the award I have, and it's very, very, a recognized one globally. Very important.
Yeah. So that's something that we should all, I guess, come together to see. I think this platform, as it is, like you said, is one of those important key things of just starting that training and putting that information out there. So thank you again, Femi, for this. Amazing. And I want to ask you as well. I know I've been to your production hub in Ibadan, and yes, I know that you already do some training of the people that are there. And how is that going? How does that help with your system?
I'll answer very quickly. I think there are quite a few questions. So I would like you to look at the questions after I give a very brief answer. And yes, it was very, very lovely having you in my space. Where training is concerned, I'll just build a little bit on what Lanre has said. Yeah. In my case, for many, many years, I had gotten a lot of requests to train. And I would say to myself at the time, I do not have the capacity, because whatever it is you want to do, you want to do excellently well. And I did not believe that I was ready until maybe in 2017, after I hosted the first leather fair, when I then could form a partnership with the Nigerian Export Promotion Council. They supported me, and then we started our training session. So in the past 3-4 years, we've trained about 250 people, if not more. But basically, my training was really training in handbag design and not manufacturing, because it's a totally different ballgame. And I found that it was an intensive, so we hold this intensive, 2-week intensive trainings during which we teach you how to think differently, because we found that a lot of people came with a totally different mindset. They just wanted to learn how to make bags, but it was also important to teach them that there is a certain type, you need to decide what direction you want to go. Yeah. What kind of products do you want to make? Who's your target market? Who do you want to be selling to? Can they afford it? So there's so many questions that you need to be asking yourselves before even trying to become a handbag designer. And I know that because I'm also coming from that space. I'm coming from a space where I knew absolutely nothing and just had to find my way on my own through reading books, because there was no one, there were no mentors, there was really no one else doing what I was doing at the time. So I've always, so when they approach me, I always feel their pain. So I'm very big on mentoring and training, but and then make them realize that this 2-week training is not going to do it all, really. What you've just come here to do is to learn that there's a certain way you must think. You must do research. You must sit back and think of exactly what you want to do. Think of your, like I said, your target market and all that. Not necessarily come here to learn how to make a bag. That's leave the bag making and the manufacturing for those who know how to do it. And that is a very major issue here, because those who train feel that they also need to sit on a machine and make and produce. But it really shouldn't work that way. And that's where collaborations really need to come in. That's the only way we can remain sustainable, if everyone is focusing on their core competencies and come to the realization that we cannot be everything and we cannot do everything. And I think that has worked. That has worked quite a bit. And so I always end by saying, at the end of the day, we can train and train and train, but we also need to train those hands that will do the actual work. And even in training those hands that will do the work, it's not just about training the hardcore skills, it's also the soft skills that we need to train the soft skills. We need to let them know you must come to work on time. We need to let them know that this, even as an artisan, being a leather worker is dignified work. It can put food on your table. Do not look down on it. And it's unfortunate that I say this, but I find that a lot of the really highly skilled artisans are not even Nigerian. I've tried to find out why, and I think that it's a lack of patience, and they just want to hit it, and they just want a quick scheme. They're not ready to be patient and learn and find out why it is. For example, the Senegalese and the Malians, and the Francophones that are doing better work. So that's a fight I want to keep fighting, because I believe that we need to own this space. We need to train our own, and until we come to that realization that it's the different types of trainings, that we need to train our minds, not just our hands. I don't think we'll go very far. So it's not just the training of the hands, it's also the training of the mind.
Amazing, thank you. Before, just to say that we have quite a few questions that have been submitted in the Q&A, but before we go into them, I just wanted us to, for me, this is the most important, talk a little bit about money. So how we get it, how we keep it, how we use it in order to help sustain our business. And so with that, I don't want to say too much. I just want Gilles to start so that we can have a well-rounded conversation and then move on to the questions very quickly. So you mentioned about human capital, so please.
Yeah, so finance capital. So you have to harness the different forms of capital. There's finance capital, human capital, there is intellectual capital, social capital, physical capital. I'll speak about finance capital. Human capital, Femi has given some good examples. And we have example in the country, in Nigeria. Serious economic development, it starts at home. We have to stop as African thinking that somebody else is gonna come and give us money. We have to spare money. And we have to take love money, but love money thought about. You have to have a thinking of where you want to go, where you want to take your business, and how you want to do it. And if you're not 100% sure before you take love money from the family, go and find out from the Femis of this world, from the Lanre of this world, from the Rookie of this world, and from others, what they have done. Learn from them. Learn from others. There is no shame in learning. At all levels, we learn. I'm learning today as I was learning 30, 40 years ago. So that's really important. The Chinese, why are they so successful? Since 1978, each family in China is saving 30% of their disposable income every year. And the government, the Chinese government, is saving 50% of their disposable income. So that's why they're powerful. That's why they're financially #1 in the world, even if the Americans don't want to say so. We need to learn to do that. This is a critical skill that we need to learn. There is no money outside of that. Once you have your own money, then you can go and ask for other money and use it to multiply your money. But create some wealth first. Yes. There are too many entrepreneurs across Africa who are just waiting for contests to go and earn your £1,000 here, £10,000 here, and they spend it because they don't know how to save. The first and foremost thing is saving.
Okay. And so when just in a situation whereby now perhaps I want to start my business, or I want to grow my business, and perhaps I need some money, how do I go about getting it?
It's love money first. It's love money first. Meaning you have to go into the people that you know, the people who are closest to you, who know you, who trust you, but you have to think through, what is it that am I going to do? First step, second step, 10th step, all the steps laid out. Go to others and figure out how they have done it. Make sure that your process, your strategy is sturdy. I spoke about the 3H, head first. If your strategy is sturdy, they will lend you money. They will actually lend you a hand. Every week they'll tell you, how have you done? Have you followed up on this and that? As Femi does. Femi follows up on everything. The big Femi, she follows up on every single detail with every single person. Well, that's a skill you have to learn. If you don't have it, you have to learn it. So learn from people and put your own money first, because if you don't have any money, but you're taking the money from others, you're not going to respect their money. Go and do a job with somebody else. A quick one. A young entrepreneur is a trainer right now, a fairly big trainer in Senegal. Gayus is his first name. And I met him 2 or 3 years ago. I was coaching him. And I said to him, stay with your business. When your private business makes 2 times as much as your employer, then you can start. And that's what he did. And he's doing super well right now. Super fast. He just wrote a book and he's been in business for 2 years. So love money. Go get love money. Yeah,
amazing.
For 2 years, and he's doing really well.
Thank you, Gilles. And just following up on what you just said about go and learn from others how they've spent their money. Femi, we want to come straight to you to ask, like, how did you spend the first money you got, and what were the steps that you took to ensure that you were able to grow and use that money appropriately?
Okay, so in my case, I didn't get any money.
Okay.
And if we were to start that story, we would not live here. So mine, I'm like I always say, I'm an accidental entrepreneur, and I just stumbled into what I do now. It just so happened that it has taken me, I'm still here 28 years on. So I started, let me just say I started with 250 Naira, which is how much I sold my very first bag. And that was 28 years ago. Let's not go into that. However, what I would like to add, I love what Gilles said, but what I would like to say is I've always just sort of, I've learned to build what I have built on the 3 M's, you know, and I call them man, machines, and money. And for me, the money always comes last. You know, there's a misconception out there that money is what is going to solve your problems. And I also thought that. I felt that, oh, you know what, if I had this much, or even if I had a rich uncle, if I had everything at my disposal, all the finances I needed, that I would succeed. And then I got the money and I failed woefully, you know, so I went through a lot of experiences, and it really hit me. So I think it was just attending EDC with Peter Bankwale and his amazing team. That's when the realization hit me that it's not the passion. It's not passion is not necessarily going to become profits. You know, there's so much that happens in between. You know, so I say man, machines, and money. It's very important that we acquire the skill sets. We need to learn. You need to be the best in your field. You need to know everything there is to know about what you're doing, about your craft, you know, so that you can become an authority at it, you know, and so it's important to just have knowledge. Knowledge is everything, you know, and then machines. Machines are a phone call away. I can just pick up my phone and order machines, and machines will come. You know, it is only when we have been able to put all that together that we then develop those strong brands that we have today, that we then, why is Lanre still standing? So I'm sure that if our primary, again, my primary goal is not money. If your primary goal is money, I think that you may not make much of a success. But if you have a passion and you're headed, you have clarity, you know where you're headed, you know where you want to position yourself in the market, then trust me, money will come, because you would have built trust over the years, and people would have seen what you've built. People would have learned to trust you and to trust the brand. You know, she talked about being customer centric. You begin to build a whole tribe of customers that trust you. You can't sell to everybody, but then you have your own tribe that trusts you, and then automatically you find that you begin to attract finances. It's just the way of the universe. Yeah. And so I implore the younger ones coming behind, it doesn't happen overnight. I say I'm an overnight success that took 28 years to happen. It's not, you need to work hard at it. You need to be consistent. You need to, and quality also is everything. You need to embed quality in what you're doing. It's just very important. Money, and like you have said, love money, money will come. Use the tools you have at your disposal right now, and let money not stop you from doing what you want to do. Just keep dreaming, and dream, and don't forget to dream big. Things happen.
Yes, exactly. And one of the things, I think, based on what both of you have said, to me, it always feels like one of the things that creatives suffer from when they start is we don't even have business plans. To go and ask for that money, even if you want to ask for love money or from a bank, we don't have a plan in place. We just think we have talent, we have passion, we're going to go for it and just start. And so based on what you're saying, it's that importance of having a business plan that you can always go back and refer to when you're setting up your company and when you're growing it and when you want to take new steps. And the other thing that I know within the fashion and apparel industry is what we call the product mix and your bread and butter product. So the products that you might create an entire collection, but you have those that these are popular, these are probably easier to make, they take less time, and that you can sell more of those, and those become the things you make more of. That way you can use that to continue to sustain your business while you also spend money on marketing and your show pieces. And I wanted to ask Lanre about that, because Lanre's entire collection is show pieces. So how have you been able to manage your money, Femi, and to sustain for so long?
So what I tend to do is that I try to make sure that. Meanwhile, earlier on, I missed about 5 minutes. My internet went off, but I'm back now. Sustaining money for me is really passion driven in this industry. I heard what Gilles had said and what Auntie Femi said, but I'm extremely passionate. So that also helps me to keep money in mind. But at the same time, launch of products, we have the social media today that, it's got positive and negative advantages, but it's been very good for the fashion industry, if you ask me. A lot of us show what we have on Instagram. So that way it helps you to stay focused on what people really love and what they like. They get in touch with you via DM. My distribution channels are very key. Aside from online, who I sell through, keeping, this is what goes well. I love the product mix you just mentioned now, Ricky, when you spoke about your bread and butter, the things I really sell. You get to have an idea of what everyone comes in for. Like over the last 2-3 years, there's this 2 dress I did, which it's not exactly cheap, but I sold a lot of it. I've done some discounts on it. So it keeps the money in. It makes this is doing well. So you do more of that and you try as much as possible. As much as I do a lot of very market items, I tend to break it in, and I advise designers to do that. It's good to have like 2-piece collections, and Ricky, you're good at that, top and trousers. It works well. We do a lot of tops, and tops do very well for me. I'm wearing one of these tops now, and I've sold in the middle of the pandemic and everything. This top did quite well this year. It was showcased last November 2019 at the GT Fashion Weekend, and things obviously didn't go very well this year from February, March, but in the last 2-3 months I've sold a bit of this top I'm wearing now. So you tend to look at the market and how we dress, what occasions we go for, keep money in mind because you want to sell. The fashion shows are an advertisement. It's a promotional line for me to sell my clothes. So I have money in mind when I do these shows. When I go for shows, I've got money in mind. At the same time, I'm thinking passion, taste, what my customers want, what I'm advertising out there, what distribution channels want, what my my markets, people buying, my fashion buyers, what they are looking at. So you have all of this in mind whilst you are creating and focusing on fashion, brands, and all that, and still keeping money very much in mind. Because at the end of the day, I want to sell my products. So I would say money in mind, but like Auntie Femi said earlier, money is not the first thing in mind. You have to have a lot of patience in the industry, passion driven, customer centric. I can't push it enough because it's very important. Feedbacks, what they want, the materials you're using, what the client wants is very key. How you're accessible to them is very important because they'll be willing to spend with you. They'll be willing to come back to you. Referrals will come. Referrals will only come when everyone is saying something good about your brand, and it's not just, so when it's expensive, people feel like, you know what, if I spend $1,000 a year, I'm happy with what I'm spending. If I spend 100,000 naira, if I spend 50,000 naira, Lanre would treat me equally as much as someone that spends XYZ amount. So everybody is very important. You know, you have to show a lot of appreciation. You want to listen. If there's the complaints, you want to attend to it. If you have issues like maybe some fittings, delivery systems, how it gets to them. If you've got the clients outside of Lagos, how do you get it to them? All of these things bring money back to your business.
Can I
so Ricky, I don't know if you said what?
I think you've aptly summarized everything I wanted to talk about within the money space of just how to you get and manage your money, how to even apply for when to apply for money. Like Jill was saying, it's the first place you start is within your loved ones before you even go outside. Jill, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to make absolutely sure, because we use sometimes jargon, and I use jargon. I wanted to make absolutely sure that everybody has understood that when I speak about love money, it is money from father, mother, friends, cousins, and everything else, nothing else. I wasn't speaking about loving money. Yes, loving money is one thing, but at a later stage, it's really get money from the loved ones. Yes.
Yeah, and that really summarizes it in terms of the financial system. If I start with proximity, and then as you grow, you will find that you are able to decide when you need more money. And if you have that business plan and you have ideas of the steps that you want to take, as Femi has rightfully said as well, you will know when it is time for you to try and raise money somewhere else. So I wanted to summarize just quickly for everyone before we go to the questions. Well, what has been given out today from Femi, one of the key things that she has said to us is that the passion is really important in how we sustain our business, but there's also the importance of consistency. When things seem tough, within the space of inconsistency, you always have to maintain your own consistency, authenticity, in order to always make sure your artistry comes across in whatever you're creating, and perseverance, because it will get tough sometimes. You just have to remember that you are doing it because this is something you love and this is something you want to make money eventually from. Jill, I really enjoyed your 3 H's because they really helped to summarize everything. So talking about the head, being collaborative, having a good headspace, and making sure you're not doing it alone, making sure you ask for as much help, see where you can pull resources, the heart, the generosity and giving back. I know someone has asked you a question about that in the questions, and thank you for answering that. And also your hand, the actual work of it, getting down and just getting on with it being so important. There is no point in just sitting down and dreaming without actually doing the handiwork. And Femi, and Lanre, talking about being very customer obsessed, which is so important. Making your brand as approachable as it can possibly be, even though it's a luxury brand, is one of the most amazing juxtapositions that I think will work in any industry within the creative space. So thank you so much for those key points that you shared today. Now I want to go into the questions, because one of the questions that actually is related to one thing I wanted to ask about is how your businesses or businesses you worked with have survived through the COVID period. Is there maybe one person for question so that we don't spend too much time on it? Who would like to answer about COVID, working in the COVID period?
Okay.
Jill, yeah?
Go ahead, Femi.
No, you go. You're my guest.
Okay, thank you. I think it's about having the right, being in the right headspace.
No, Femi.
Yeah, it's being in the right headspace, because if you're not, you are going to be pulled by the news, by the media, by your environment, by the institutions, the governments. Everybody is putting scaremongering in the minds of everybody at the moment. So you have to be in the right headspace. You have to get with people who are in the right headspace, and you have to really hone on your skills, your digital skills, to be able to transfer some of the things that you used to do in face-to-face, like we are doing right here. We are professionals at public speaking, and we train a considerable amount of people around the world in public speaking. We've trained short of 3,000 people in the last 4 years in Africa alone in public speaking. Hone in your skills. If you are a good speaker, you're going to be convincing people. You're going to be influencing them. They're going to be asking you to be at conferences. That's why we do conferences at the moment, one a week or one every 2 weeks. because people want us to speak where they are. So learn critical skills that will transform your business. And if we go back to something that looks like what it used to be before, you will still have your current business, and you'll have a new business that you have developed because you've had developed skills on the internet to be able to be more successful, etc., etc. And you will fail big, and just take the lessons from failing and put yourself back, pick yourself back up, and go with the right headspace. And also help others. Be generous with your time. Do that extra time, the Sunday, and make a call, and then help somebody else, young people, entrepreneurs, motivate them, push them, and stay positive whatever happens.
Thank you, Gilles. I know, because I think I've spoken to Femi about this a little. I just wanted to ask her what her own COVID experience is, because I know she has a story around the flexibility of her business that allowed her. So that might be something also to share with any young creatives that are struggling with finding balance within that space, in addition to also learning new skills.
Yeah, thank you, Ricky. Okay, so when COVID happened, of course, it took us all by surprise, and I had to do a rethink. And I remember at the time listening to a lot of webinars, and the same words kept ringing in my head: recalibrate, reimagine, rethink, don't waste the crisis. There was all this, and I kept thinking, don't waste the crisis. I mean, you can't begin to rethink or reimagine on an empty stomach, and of course, you then quickly look at your reserves, and you of course, you don't know how long this is going to last. And so one of the first things I did was quickly inform my staff that I was going to put them on half salary, because I was not sure how long I could sustain, we could sustain what we had in our reserves. So we started out like that. We locked up, of course, and then when we came back, we realized that we looked within our space and decided that we had tools at our disposal that we could start, that we could use to make masks. So really, even though everybody was making masks at the time, I'm based in Ibadan, and I really did not have the energy or the inclination to start looking for mask jobs. That's really not what I wanted to be built for. But we did start making masks. But before we did that, we looked into our business. There was also the talk of filling up the technological highways. Everybody was talking about e-commerce. So what we looked at the e-commerce platform we had was, of course, our website and our Instagram page. And what was so interesting is that that was when we had a whole rash of international orders, which surprised us, and we sold from our website for the very first time. So we started improving on what we could improve on. We looked at our Instagram page, we looked at our social media pages, and tried to improve upon that. And then, of course, then what then happened later, because we have a factory, we have the machinery, we have everything, we have the human capital. We then were approached, and we put out a proposal, and we started to make masks and PPE, protective equipment, non-medical grade. And we've been doing that for a few months now, and that really has kept the business going, even though I won't say things are quite back to normal, because yes, we're still making a lot. Femi handbags did not stop working. We did not stop that at all, because we found that people actually did not stop buying bags. So we don't know if it was a just a way to feel good about yourself, feel good way to say thank you, Lord, for keeping me alive and well, So, but there was all that around it, and we also make a lot of conference bags over the years, and we discovered at the beginning of the year that not a single order was coming in. Again, it didn't occur to us as quickly as it should have that there were no conferences happening. So the moment we realized that, we knew that we had to. I don't like to use the word pivot, but that's exactly what we did. So I think that for everyone else, there must be something there that you can use. What can your hands do? What are you good at? There's no point waiting for COVID to go away. I don't know that it's going to for a while. So and we can't just sit around. So I think it's a matter of looking into your business, looking at what your strengths are, Gilles has talked about public speaking. So if that's a core competence, if that's a strength you have, I think we need to take a deep dive into those strengths that we have now and harness them to our potential.
Thank you. So I'm just going to take one last question because we were definitely over time, but we didn't really talk about environmental sustainability. So I wanted to use this question to pivot into that. Lanre, someone is asking you about downcycling because in an industry like leather, upcycling may not be as profitable as downcycling. And what is the fair chargeable fee for downcycling or upcycled products? Now, one of the things I'm always curious about is for brands that are going into environmental sustainability, how is it more expensive? And does it conflict with your current production channels? And how do you charge for it? Do you charge more? And can it make money, or is it just for doing good?
Okay, so that's a good one. What I would say is there's upcycling, downcycling. It's a practice you get used to over time. So you're still doing your business on the side. COVID-19, the pandemic here has provided us this, and we're adapting to it. Over the years, I've had to do some upcycling, so it's been sustainable for me. What I would say is don't charge too much so they can buy more. That's my advice. So I don't know downcycling it with the leather goods, if it's covers for the phone, like I said earlier on, or if it's like little accessories for clothing or for hair. And there's so many beautiful hair accessories I find today, and some of them are leather. You know, if it's like small bags that you're doing, something that when I come, I can buy 3 to 4 items. So more accessories, small items, not too expensive, and stress ethical fashion. Stress, you know, and then those are doing them, they train each other more, like, so you have more people doing it. There's enough for it. You can have it for Christmas presents, emphasis, you know, things that you can add on that eventually it will be volume driven, and then you can make money from it. That's my own personal advice when it comes to either upcycling or downcycling. For upcycling, obviously, because my clothes are already expensive, the client has already spent quite a bit of money. So for me to upcycle with whatever I'm adding on to it, I'm not going to make it expensive. There's already an item I'm working on. It's to encourage them to wear, to be sustainable with what they buy. And, you know, because it could be something you're wearing for a wedding, probably outside of the country, and because of social media now, people tend to have pictures flying all around. So they say to me, Lanre, how can I modify this, still looking really good, and having to wear it again? You know, so that's the upcycling aspect of it. But in terms of downcycling, I feel personally that if you look into accessories, smaller items, you do really well. Yeah, not too expensive.
Amazing. Okay. So that, for me, that's the end. I wondered if anyone wanted to add anything more on environmental sustainability. Gilles, I know we'd had a short conversation previously, and I wondered if you wanted to add something on that.
Yeah, I was speaking about differentiation, because it is very important going forward that there is more and more differentiation. In the dyeing industry, there is synthetic dyeing, which is actually very dangerous for the health. It brings cancer and things of the kind. But henna and other types of dyeing in Africa could completely make a difference in the leather industry, but also in the garment industry. And I think we need to just think about the environment in everything that we do, because our children and the next generations, you know, let alone the sustainable goals from the United Nations. I think it's sustainable goal 8, 9, and 12, if I remember correctly, that have addressed these issues that are related to the leather industry and the fashion industry in general. We need to think about those when we get into production, at the beginning, not at the end. So we need to think about those in advance. I hope this helps.
Yes, it does. It definitely does. I know people often think that if they try and be environmentally sustainable, it will be more expensive, but it really is not if you incorporate it from the start. And if it costs a bit more, then it's important that you factor that cost into your final retail price, because it's worth it. So yes, thank you everyone. for this amazing conversation. We've gone way over time because I wanted to learn more, and I hope that everybody has stayed on. All the participants have stayed on till the very end, so it must have been quite informative for them as well. So thank you so much for being here, for your time, your knowledge, and just talking to us. Thank you. And
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ruki. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lanre. Thank you, Gilles. Thank you, Ruki.
Thank you for having me. I had a lovely time. I've also learned from this session.
Absolutely.
I did
Absolutely.
too.
Thank you.
Ladies. Thank you, Lanre.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.